Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Entitled People. Story 1. My parents apologized. My sister did not, at least at first. A week ago I made this throwaway account to ask Ida a question. I was found to be anything but in. I have too much to say to post in Ida as an update. So a friend recommended I come here. My posting on Ida essentially opened a Pandora's box in the family. Basically, my parents and older sister had become very comfortable with me helping with the childcare of my young triplet nephews. I didn't leave home till I was 22 because I was trying to save money while also going to college. A scholarship covered a lot, and living at home kept me from getting rising debt due to my working part-time as well. I'm very thankful for this. However, after college everyone just seemed to act like I had endless time on my hands, and convinced me along on a family vacation. In this so-called vacation, I was forced to babysit my 3 at the time 6-year-old nephews. I even had to share a hotel room with them. And believe me, those kids did not listen to a damn thing I said on the first night until I called their mother, twice. And I was treated like the bad guy for wanting to do other things during the trip. Like if it's something the family doesn't enjoy as a whole, then it doesn't happen. Which was extremely hypocritical because I'm family and wasn't included in that vote. And you can bet I aired this grievance with my parents after my last post. And they have acknowledged being in the wrong. After that awful vacation last year, I decided it was time to move out. And did so before the summer even ended. Which surprised everyone as I gave them no warning. I'd landed a great job pretty much right after college thanks to an internship, and used moving as an excuse to drop my commute from 45 minutes to 15. My sister hated this the most because it meant no more free babysitting on weekends. But she still tried to make me do it. I caved sometimes. Usually by being bribed with pizza. And this sort of became a new norm. But then last month my parents announced plans for another family vacation to the same place along the coast. And they basically wanted it to go the same way. I immediately saw it for what it was. A trap. I knew that if I rode with my parents and let them buy the hotel rooms, I would be screwed over the same way as last time. So I just casually stated I'd drive myself and pay for myself. And that's when the shitstorm started. When my parents realized they couldn't entrap me like before, they resorted to borderline begging. And my sister practically tried to order me to go with the flow through gaslighting. Newsflash, I didn't. After I didn't cave to my sister's demands, I made the Ida post after days of harassment. And then my sister somehow spotted that post in less than an hour. What followed was Pandora's box. At first the family was against me. My sister called our parents, and they called me when I still had a little time to talk in the morning. My parents were on the phone with me while also reading my post. I asked them if anything in the post was a lie. They sort of steered around it and called the post an exaggeration. But I pointed out numerous details that made it pretty much on the mark. Then I told them to check the Story 2. Sister thinks she's in charge of everything. My sister thinks she's in charge of everything and doesn't want to listen. That's very annoying. Let me tell ya. This all happened yesterday. A bit of context, I am 16, and my sister, F, a few years younger than me. I am going to refer to her as SR. Last Saturday, SR tells our grandma that she's going to the city with another friend, SF, to buy a gift and then go to her friend's, ST, birthday party, at Burger King. After the party, SR messages me saying that her and the group are gonna go to ST's house and stay there a bit. FF to 7 p.m. SR texts saying that she's going to sleep over at ST's house, and tells grandma to pick SR up so she can come home and grab her things. Our grandma doesn't like to drive for this type of thing. She gets a bit angry, but says no problem and gives SR a ride. The day after the sleepover, about 11 a.m., Grandma tells me to message SR asking when she's gonna come, and sister says that she isn't because they gonna lunch there, and says that she's probably coming afternoon. FF to 6 p.m. Grandma tells me again to say that she's gotta come now. SR says, like if she is in charge, that she's gonna stay till 8 p.m. Grandma says no. Me and my sister start a text discussion because she doesn't want to come sooner than 8 p.m. SR keeps asking why Grandma wants her to come. I say that she simply wants to, and SR should come because our grandma is the one who keeps a roof above her head, cooks her food, washes her clothes. She won't stop fing discussing. I told her to come 7 p.m., then. She insists on 7:15. What the hell is 15 more minutes is gonna fing change? I give up. We agree that SR could come 7:15 p.m. Inhales. FF to around 7:40 p.m. Sister isn't answering messages. Grandma is very upset and says that she's going to grab SR herself. Again, Grandma doesn't like to drive for this type of thing. 15 minutes later they pull up. Both quiet. I say hi to my sister as she enters and she promptly ignores me. Why is she so entitled about this? Every time we ask her to do something she discusses. Yeah, that's very annoying. Story 3. My younger brother, 10, acts like he owns his family and treats us like servants. What makes things worse is my parents let him get away with it. To start things off, I would just like to say that my 10-year-old brother refuses to do anything himself because of the way my parents bend to his will. He refuses to grab his own snacks from the fridge or pantry, he refuses to get his own water, he literally just has to grab a cup and press a button on the fridge, he refuses to keep his room clean, he refuses to feed his pet bearded dragon. I could go on and on. A very extreme example of this is my brother just recently learned to go to the bathroom himself. Yes, you read that right. Anyways, my brother treats me and my parents like his own personal servants. When he wants something he will ask without saying please, and it usually comes out like get me item. He also likes to shout his demands from across the house and then proceeds to get upset if you don't hear him the first time. If you dare refuse his demand he will yell at you. My parents almost always listen and just get him what he needs, and I do too. On the rare occasions that I do refuse, my brother will go tattle and then I end up getting in trouble. I actually almost got grounded a few days ago because he told my parents I was refusing to grab him a snack, but the thing is he didn't even ask me to get him food. The way my brother treats us is horrible, and the fact that my parents get him whatever he wants and do whatever he wants is mind-blowing to me. What's even crazier is when I asked for something I end up getting major death glares as they get it for me or they just straight up ignore me. An example of this was last night at the dinner table. I asked my dad to pass me my cup of water as it was right in front of him, but I couldn't quite reach it and he said, "Get it yourself." Bonus story. Just so you can truly understand how spoiled he is, a few weeks ago my brother was playing on his iPad and he was getting very frustrated with the game he was playing. My brother proceeded to smash his head into his iPad and it ended up shattering into a million glass shards. I talked to my parents after the incident and told them that his behavior was out of control and they can't cave in and get him another iPad. They promised they wouldn't. Anyways, a few days later they got him a new phone. I apologize for any spelling, grammar, or punctuation mistakes. I wrote this pretty fast. Story 4. The time my brother stayed over and stole all the alcohol from my fridge. This happened some years ago. I don't let my brother stay over at my apartment because he's a blatant thief with any beer in my fridge. If I did something like get a lock for my fridge, then he'd hide bolt cutters in his car. That's just the kind of person he is. But since I got him back by getting him to steal a growler filled with laxative spiked beer last year, he hasn't tried to steal anything from me since. And seriously, he really went through hell after drinking that spiked beer link. Anyway, years ago he wanted to stay over at my apartment to watch something on TV that I can't remember. At the house he rented a room in along with numerous other guys. They often fought over the TV. So I said fine. I'd just be in my bedroom playing Bioshock Infinite. Well, he showed up with a 6-pack of really cheap beer. I told him not to touch the good stuff in my fridge, and to be out by morning. Then I booted up my PS3 and wailed on some enemies with a skyhook. I had a few beers in the bedroom with me in a mini cooler so I wouldn't have to interact with my brother unless I had to. Well, I played a couple of hours, then passed out in bed. When I woke up in the morning, I went to make some coffee. I was out of creamer, so I was just gonna use milk. But when I opened the fridge, all of my beer and a bottle of whiskey was gone. This was good beer and whiskey too. The beer was a honey beer I still buy on the regular, and the whiskey was Jim Beam honey. Yes, I like honey alcohol. So sue me. I was instantly furious, because I knew my no-good rotten alcoholic thief of a brother stole them. So I called him up. Took 3 tries before he finally picked up his phone. And then he had the audacity to deny he took the booze. But I pointed out that I had this stuff in the fridge, and it was gone in the morning. And he left before I got up. It could only have been him. Well, that finally made him own up to taking it. And then he complained he couldn't resist good booze. I told him I don't give a fuck what he can or can't resist. I wanted it all back. But he brushed me off and said to just go to the store and get more. I felt like I nearly burst a blood vessel in my brain because I was so mad. But he just hung up the phone on me. The next part I'm not so proud of. But it's pretty much my brother's biggest weakness. I called our parents. They were pretty mad on my behalf too, because Dad especially appreciates the same kind of booze I do, and immediately called my brother. I don't know what Dad said to him. But my brother called me a little while later to basically say, really? You got Mom and Dad involved. I told him to bring my booze back, and if he opened any of it, he was replacing it. He told me fuck you. And hung up. He showed up at my door later with the whiskey and beer. He hadn't opened the whiskey yet, but he had started in on the beer. So he had to buy another pack on the way there. Only, it wasn't the same beer. It was the cheap shit he always bought. I told him that wasn't gonna cut it and he knew it. He said to just take it because he wasn't going back to the store. I picked up my cell and said perhaps I should call his ex next. She's almost as good at cowing him as our parents. He said I wouldn't dare. But I was ready to push the button. So he said fine. And trudged back to his car. He came back about 20 minutes later, shoved a case of honey beer in my hands, then flipped me off with both hands as he walked away. Yeah. He's that immature. I told him he wasn't welcome to stay over again. And he said something like big fucking deal. Before taking off. True to my word, I haven't let him stay over since. He's been here for a party a few times. But I always watched him like a hawk because he still tried to take my good beer. He got really pissed when I made him put the can back in the fridge and only drink the cheap stuff. And there were times he wanted to see something on TV at my place. But I refused after what he did before. And he acted like I was an asshole for it. I said I didn't care. He fucked around and found out the consequences. I'm pretty sure he showed up the night I said that to him and pissed on my front door. Because it reeked of urine in the morning. He never admitted to doing it, and said it was probably a stray cat. Edit. Corrected a couple errors. Edit 2. Prior to this incident, my brother had stayed over several times and not touched my good booze. Which is the only reason I allowed him to stay the night. I banned him from sleeping over ever again after this went down. He also knows very well that I will make him replace any booze he steals, be it the cheap stuff, or the good stuff. And no, I don't need a second fridge in my room. I live alone. I had a girlfriend years ago. But she hadn't fully moved in with me yet, and I kicked her out for cheating on me. And her story is a whole other can of worms. Also, I don't have the good beer all the time. Just when I feel like it. I'll drink the cheap stuff more often because the cans are bigger and it's more bang for the buck. Though not as cheap as what my brother gets. He buys bottom of the barrel beer. Basically whatever is cheapest on the shelf that day in the local discount store. When I go camping I typically take cheap beer along. Because I've noticed that whenever I have good beer while camping, other people want to mooch off me. Why do you think it was so easy to bait my brother with laxative-tainted honey beer? I'll make an exception on what kind of beer I bring sometimes, like camping for the 4th of July. But beyond that, I typically only bring cheap beer when camping because other campers, my brother, or even my dad will want some if I have the good stuff. Better beer is a magnet for the wild alcoholic. And yes, I do try to find places to camp alone. But I also like camping in places where I can socialize and meet new people. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.